Today is my contribution to the $100 furniture flip challenge. To be honest, I'm not sure if it's an invite-only thing. I just saw a bunch of YouTubers start doing $100 challenges. I'm always late to the game with YouTube. I'm not very up-to-date. So I kind of jumped in self-invited on this one. And it's for the sole purpose of education. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes. The other thing I want to talk about is how I value this piece prior to selling it, which it has already sold. But I calculated at $35 what I paid for it. How I came to that conclusion, long story short, back in the springtime, I bought out a large section of inventory from an antique store that thought they were losing their lease. I offered a cash chunk for a lot of pieces. And I don't mean a lot as in so many items. I mean like a specific bundle, a package deal, if you will. On a grip of pieces, some big, some small. And there was no set value on any individual piece. If I simply divide it out, I value this piece at around $35 to $45 that I paid for it, given the one fixed cost item that was in that group took up a very large portion of that budget. That was the buffet that I refinished in a prior video. So with that being said, $100 challenge, my entry price was $35 to $45. If we're not calculating the power tools, which would be several $1,000s, my Festool CT26, Rotex 150 EQ, and my DeWalt table saw, you know, that combo alone's pushing $2,000. So we're not calculating power tools. My hand tools already owned. I didn't have to buy anything for this job. My sandpaper I owned from other jobs that were billed to the client. My glue was left over from projects in the past. My finish was leftover finish. And my hand tools were already acquired. Now, if I had to go and purchase those things specifically, the way that I would do it is go to Goodwill, buy a $2 screwdriver to remove my drawer and doors. I would get sandpaper from a neighbor or someone whose garage needed to be cleaned out. Maybe go to an auction or a garage sale at Craigslist. And if I was really hard up for the scraper, you know, I'd find a way to either borrow one, or that would be my budget piece right there. I'd drop 20 to 30 bucks on my scraper because that's such a valuable piece in refinishing, especially if you don't have like a power sander, like a Festool Rotex. But garage sales, Goodwill, stuff like that's a great way to go if you're starting off. That's my advice. That's why I'm not officially entering this $100 challenge. It's hard for me to kind of quantify because I already own all of these things. And I have so many products left over from jobs that I'm paid to do for my actual job. And I'm clearly not a full-time YouTuber. That it's all free for me. But if I had to, I'd go out there and hustle and borrow, beg, and just shy of steal to get the things I need to meet the $100 criteria. Let's jump on in. What we got here is an oak dresser or nightstand. Not really big enough to be a hutch. It's got busted up drawer slides that are non-mechanical. They're just simple machine glide slides. And this is kind of the first thing I want to tackle. Alright, quick note here. Normally I audio over in my office during these videos, but seeing them in the shop and it's nice and sunny out today and I'm feeling good, I want to talk a bit about the restoration of an old piece and paying homage to the original builder. If you find a really old piece, rather than just putting in mechanical drawer slides, try and put yourself in the position of the original builder if you can, if you have the tools and the skill sets to do so. If you got pieces that are going out, just recreate them. Try and recreate them as opposed to replacing it with something newer, and pay homage to the origin of the piece and its original maker. You might find it's really rewarding at the end of the project when you get to replace something that was made 120 years ago in the exact same way that they would have made it, or very similar. And also, it's a time money exchange. You might have to spend an extra hour on 4 drawer slides, but you're saving 15 bucks a set or 20 bucks a set if they're some blooms, you know, soft close. Not to mention, again, authenticity of the piece. On a piece like what's behind me here, this thing is so old. It's got to be early 1900s, late 1800s, and I really just don't want anything from this century touching it. I don't want anything mechanical in there that didn't exist at the time of its manufacturing. So try it. One thing you'll see me do in almost all my videos is a deep clean of these projects, and I use a peroxide based cleaner that you can get at Walmart or Home Depot or Lowe's. I enjoy the cleaning process because it's less I have to worry about if I move into my own house, and I definitely don't want something bad going into a client's house. So peroxide actually does a better job of killing mold and mildew spores and bacteria than bleach because it penetrates deeper down in the wood. That's to my knowledge. I'm not an expert in chemical reactions, but I trust peroxide. It's worked on all my projects so far. So simply sanding these drawer faces because they were jacked. They were completely jacked, and the drawers I went ahead and started repairing as well. I don't want any rattle for the client, and although this piece is a spec build, I assume it's going to sell, so I go ahead and pin her down a 23 gauge pin gun, glue, and I start in on scuff sanding after I pin nail my drawers. And I'm using a 150 grit dust collection, and I'm wearing my mask on this. They got some old shellac and weird stuff in this furniture I definitely don't want in my nasal cavity or lungs. I'll pay the price here for not prematurely pulling off the doors. That was lazy. Cheaters never prosper. I thought I could cheat this one. There's an old video game, a bike racing game that used to have a thing if you went off road. So cheaters never prosper. If anybody knows what that is, please let me know. But same thing applies here. I should have just taken the doors off. Instead, you know, I'm trying to repair this panel on the hinge. Kind of fearful that if I pull the screws out, I'd have to then fill the holes. I was trying to be cheap. And it's just a royal pain. So 23 gauger, just getting this, and ultimately I would have to take that door off to sand it flush because it's too raised. And another thing I want to mention, you know, I'm very fortunate to have this shop. Very fortunate to have the space. You know, I spent 10 years of my career building custom furniture in a really big shop that my business partner and I owned, but we learned a valuable lesson. Carts save your back. Now into the good stuff, the top. This top is totally cranked. It's got some weird finish. The oak is incredibly hard. I don't want to assume it's white oak. It could be pin oak, black oak. There's tens and tens, I don't know if hundreds, but there's tens of species of oak. And back in, you know, Depression era back, it was kind of whatever oak was available. I don't know if the mills tracked it as heavily as they do now. So I'm going to do my wedge method. I'm not going to talk about the wedge method in detail here. I have a video on it. You can go to it if you'd like. Search my page. I'm going to do another one that's kind of a master class because I've had a lot of requests on it. But I wedge these gaps and cracks. It's tongue and groove. So if it expands and contracts, I am making these wedges out of the same species that I pulled from the bust drawers. So they expand and contract at the same rate. And that's important for me. So when it goes into the home of the client, they're not calling me up saying, hey, your wood filler popped out. Because it's not wood filler. It's actually the same species of wood going back, replacing a gap that's existed for what I would assume would be decades. A little bit of super glue here on the back end of these. I'm pretty sure it's just joiner snipe here that's reopened. Joiner snipe is just when your blade and your table are not set properly and you get the last inch or two of your joiner pass to drop. Got some punky spots in this wood. Not super concerned. I stabilize it with a bunch of CA glue and I just keep moving forward. I just want to simply stabilize and let it hang out and dry before I get into sanding. Here's the top after a preliminary sanding and then a 150 grit. Gaps are gone, cracks are gone. I feel good. Seems stable. And this first coat, I'm actually using a Spar Cut 20% mineral spirits. It's fancy terminology for I diluted it roughly 20% with mineral spirits so it laid down a little flatter, take a little longer to cure, and go a little deeper into the grain because there's a higher content of carrying agent before it evaporates off. And I'm using this really because I have it left over and I know it's going to turn on me. It's going to kick in the pot. It's free. It's available. And I wanted to use it. I know that I'm using oil base on this entire project, so I also know it's going to be compatible with whatever hand rub poly I finish the project out with. There you can see the doors I did pull off properly because I was a dummy bear before. Here we go. I ran out of spar. I'm switching over to a hand rub poly with a brush application after the spar has sat for a full 24 hours. And I'm just going to go coat by coat on this thing and just start sealing in the wood. I'm never too concerned with the backs of these pieces. I'm not chasing perfection on this piece. So jumping into the drawer slides, got some scrap red oak from a pre-existing project from a client. I do a bump test to make sure that my rabbit's gonna be the same size, and then I just go ahead and do a full send on my rabbit and tenon work. And there's something here that, you know, I'm not super proud of. I would say confidence the wrong word of doing, but you'll see here I back drag when I make these passes on a very crappy crosscut sled. Just came, you know, it's one of those stock ones. I back drag my piece here, and that's not advisable. I could say I'm the most confident guy on a table saw in the world. A, this isn't a great table saw. It's a good table saw. It's my favorite portable table saw, but it's not the best. And B, that's just not a safe technique, so don't do it. Here are the tenons. They turned out really well. I'm happy with the pieces all in all. I think it was a good fit. I think it was a good match. There's the original right there. So pretty much made replicas. And now I'm just going to pop them in back into the mortise, and on the back side, the little groove. Squaring them up with a speed square. I got glue everywhere. Clean your glue. Use water. Use a rag. Keep it simple. And there you have it. The finished piece with the drawers and doors working properly. Basically exactly as they should and as they did, you know, 80 to 120 years ago. It's really hard to date this piece without any stamping. There was no plates or anything identifying the age, but the top turned out really well. You can see the wedging. It's stabilized. There's no filler. The drawers slide pretty well. And it's an authentic piece with no modern technology except for the drawer pulls, which I purchased. Which, if we're going to talk about budget, let's not forget those. I spent $4.95 a piece on them. I believe $4.95 or $5.95 a piece. So there's 4 drawer pulls and 1 knob. So around 30 bucks with tax, 35. So we're at 70 bucks for the piece and materials combined. Leaving, again, like I said, if you're not including power tools and the supplies I already had for free, if there's one tool I would absolutely buy for any of my refinish jobs, it's the scraper that I use. So you add the 30 bucks, we're right at $100. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it was helpful for some technique, maybe inspiration for creating drawer slides next time on the antique piece. If you don't have a table saw or you're not confident in table saw work, something that never hurts to do is find a local shop and ask. Intern. I had interns with my old shop. We met because they asked, they wanted to learn. Go ask if you want to learn on a table saw safely. Find a co-work space in your area and get some time on a table saw before you just dive in on making drawer slides and tenon work and stuff that can take a digit off, because start with 10, finish with 10. It's my motto. But yeah, it was a really fun piece. Again, you know, I have a lot of antiques from that bulk purchase, and just wanted to jump in on this $100 challenge. Sorry, I know it was uninvited. It's not a competition for me. I just wanted to share with you guys some more technique along the way. Again, wedging, you can go to one of my old videos on the wedge technique if you're curious about it. Check it out. It's very helpful for stuff like this. And I challenge you, my challenge is to just, as you enjoy the process, pay as much homage, like I said before, pay as much homage to the original builder and piece as you can in the time period. Have fun with it. Yeah, it sucks sometimes, it takes a lot of time, and no, it's really not going to be a money saver. Certainly won't be a time saver, but you might find that you learn something new, you push yourself out of your comfort zone within reason, safely, and enjoy the process. Okay, guys, subscribe, do me a favor if you want to, if you like it. See ya.